I sat in that courtroom listening to my own son tell a judge I was losing my mind. Your Honor, my father can't even remember what day it is half the time. Brandon stood in the witness box, wearing a suit I knew cost at least $2,000. I recognized it because I'd seen the credit card charge. The credit card he'd opened in my name without my knowledge. He leaves the stove on, forgets to pay bills, can't manage basic tasks anymore. Brandon's voice carried just the right amount of concern. Perfect performance. Last week I found expired food in his refrigerator from 6 months ago. Complete lie, but he delivered it with the sincerity of a worried son. Judge Patricia Morrison looked at me with sympathy. I sat slumped in my chair, wearing my oldest cardigan, looking confused and frail. Exactly as I'd planned. Mr. Harrison also doesn't have the money to support himself properly, Brandon continued. He's living on a small pension, barely making ends meet. The house is falling apart. He needs professional financial management for his own safety. I kept my expression blank, but inside I wanted to laugh. $4.7 million. That's what I had in various accounts and investments. The money from selling my tech company 5 years ago. Money Brandon knew nothing about. Your Honor, Brandon said, his voice breaking slightly. I'm just trying to protect my father before it's too late. I love him. I need to make sure he's taken care of. The judge nodded sympathetically. Another loving son protecting his aging father. How noble. Does your father have legal representation? Judge Morrison asked. That's when Walter Cohen stood up from the back of the courtroom. Yes, Your Honor, and we have quite a bit of evidence to present. Welcome to Elder Justice Revenge Stories. Could you please tell us where you're watching from? And if this is your first time visiting this page, kindly subscribe and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on other stories. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this one ends. Brandon's face went white. He hadn't known I had an attorney, hadn't known I'd been 10 steps ahead of him for 6 months. Game over, son. 6 months ago, my life was quiet, peaceful even. My wife, Helen, had died 3 years earlier. Cancer. 42 years of marriage ended in a hospital room with me holding her hand. After she passed, I'd sold the tech company we'd built together, Harrison Digital Solutions. Started in our garage in 1989, grew it to 150 employees. Sold it to a Fortune 500 company for $4.7 million. Everyone expected me to buy a mansion, travel the world, live large. Instead, I stayed in our modest 3-bedroom house, drove my 10-year-old Honda, shopped at the same grocery store I'd been going to for 20 years. People thought I was just a widower living on a pension. I preferred it that way. Wanted to see who cared about me versus who cared about money. Brandon had always been my son. But after Helen died, I noticed changes. Suddenly, he was visiting more often, asking about my finances, suggesting I should consolidate my accounts, let him help manage things. My daughter-in-law, Nicole, started commenting on my house. Robert, this place is getting too big for you. Have you thought about downsizing? Translation. Sell the house, give us money. Brandon borrowed $15,000 last year for business expenses. Never paid it back. Then $20,000 for unexpected medical bills. Also, never returned. I'd started to see the pattern, but I wanted to believe I was wrong. That my son loved me, not my assets. I was about to find out the truth. The day everything changed was a Tuesday in March. Brandon and Nicole came over for lunch. I'd made sandwiches, set them out on the kitchen table. Dad, I'm going to use your bathroom, Brandon had said. "I'll help clean up," Nicole offered. I'd gone to my bedroom to grab something. That's when I heard their voices in the kitchen, low, conspiratorial. I stopped in the hallway, listened. "Your dad's sitting on this house, free and clear." Nicole's voice. $340,000, easy. If we get conservatorship, we control everything. My heart stopped. "He's old," Brandon replied. "Who's going to believe he's competent? We just need documentation, a doctor saying he can't manage his affairs. My brother can do the evaluation. Kenneth owes me a favor." "Perfect. Once we have that, the judge will have to approve it." I stood frozen in my hallway, listening to my son plot to steal my independence. "What about Emma?" Brandon asked. "My granddaughter. Sweet 16-year-old Emma. She's a kid. She won't understand until it's done. Then we'll explain we're protecting Grandpa." They talked for another 5 minutes. Details about conservatorship laws, selling my house, moving me to a care facility. When they left an hour later, I hugged Brandon goodbye, like always. Smiled. Played the loving father. But inside, something had broken. My own son wanted to declare me incompetent, take control of my assets, and warehouse me somewhere cheap while he spent my money. I had two choices: confront him immediately or investigate how deep this betrayal went. I chose investigation. If you've ever been betrayed by your own children, comment with your heartbroken emoji. The next day, I started my performance. I called Brandon, sounded confused. "What day is it? I thought we had lunch yesterday, but my calendar says it was today." "Dad, we had lunch yesterday. Are you feeling okay?" "Oh, yes, I must have gotten mixed up." I could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "Maybe you should start writing things down more carefully." Over the following weeks, I played the role perfectly. Left my calendar empty. Claimed I'd forgotten appointments. Asked Brandon the same question twice in one conversation. Seemed confused about simple tasks. Every incident carefully calculated. Enough to concern, not enough to alarm. Brandon and Nicole's responses told me everything. They weren't concerned. They were excited. "Dad, you seem a little forgetful lately," Nicole said during one visit. "Maybe you should see a doctor." "Do you think something's wrong with me?" "Just a checkup, routine. Brandon and I know a great doctor. Dr. Kenneth Marsh, Nicole's brother, the doctor who'd write the fraudulent evaluation." "Okay," I agreed meekly. "If you think it's best." Brandon scheduled the appointment for 2 weeks later. Plenty of time for me to prepare. I let them think they were in control. Let them believe their plan was working. Meanwhile, I made a phone call to someone they didn't know existed. "Walter, it's Robert Harrison. I need your help with something delicate." Walter Cohen had been my attorney for 20 years, handled the company sale, my estate planning, everything. "What's going on, Robert?" "My son is trying to steal everything I have, and I'm going to let him try." Walter came to my house the next evening. I showed him everything, told him about the conversation I'd overheard, the plan for conservatorship, the fake doctor evaluation. "Robert, this is elder abuse. We can stop this immediately." "No. I want to see how far he'll go. I need to know if there's any part of my son left who'd stop before destroying me." Walter understood. "All right, then we build an airtight case, document everything." We started with a private investigator, Frank DeLuca, former police detective, now running his own firm. Frank installed hidden cameras in my house, small, undetectable, covering the living room, kitchen, my office. "Any reason to believe they're entering your house without permission?" Frank asked. "I've noticed things moved, mail opened. I think Brandon has a key I didn't give him. We'll catch it if he does." Next, Walter discovered Brandon had been intercepting my mail. He'd filed a change of address on certain bills, routing them to his house. "He's controlling the narrative," Walter explained, "making sure you don't see bills until they're overdue. Then he can claim you're not managing your finances." We found out Nicole's brother, Dr. Kenneth Marsh, was a neurologist who'd only been licensed for 3 years. Worked at a clinic Nicole used to represent as a pharmaceutical sales rep. Clear conflict of interest, but Brandon was betting I wouldn't fight back, wouldn't even know to object. The most useful tool was my new phone. Brandon had mocked it when I showed him. "Dad, that's a flip phone. You need a smartphone. This one works fine. I don't need all those fancy features." What Brandon didn't know, the flip phone was actually a sophisticated recording device. Every conversation automatically saved and backed up to a secure cloud server. I carried it everywhere, recorded everything. 2 weeks later, I went to Dr. Marsh's office for the evaluation. While I was at the doctor's office, Frank's cameras captured something beautiful. Brandon let himself into my house with a key. Nicole was with him. They thought I'd be gone for hours. The footage showed them going through my office, opening drawers, photographing bank statements from the small checking account I used for daily expenses. "This is all he has," Nicole said, holding up a statement showing a balance of $3,200. Barely enough to live on. They didn't know about the investment accounts, the CDs, the mutual funds, the money market accounts, millions spread across institutions they'd never find. Brandon took a small antique clock from my shelf, Helen's grandmother's clock, worth about $300. "He won't notice," Brandon said, testing me, seeing if I'd mention it missing. I didn't. Let him think he was right. The most damning footage came next. Nicole and Brandon sat at my kitchen table with documents spread out. "Once we get conservatorship, we sell this house immediately," Nicole said. "Move him to Valley View Care Home. It's cheap, $3,000 a month. Medicaid will cover most of it." Valley View. I knew that place. Understaffed, frequent health violations, where you put people you want to forget. "Then we pay off our mortgage," Brandon continued. "The rest we invest. By the time he dies, we'll be set." They were planning my funeral while I was still healthy. The smoking gun came when Brandon pulled out a document. Property deed transfer. My house to Brandon's name. My signature at the bottom. Except I'd never signed it. Brandon had forged my signature. Was planning to file the transfer, claim I'd gifted him the house. With conservatorship, he could validate the transfer. Make it legal retroactively. Frank caught all of it on camera. When I watched the footage that evening, I felt something inside me harden. This wasn't desperation. This was greed. Calculated, cruel greed. "We have everything we need," Walter said. "We can stop this now." "Not yet," I replied. "I want to see how far they'll actually go." Emma visited every Sunday. My granddaughter, 16, bright and kind, like her grandmother had been. She was nothing like her parents. Thank God. "Grandpa, how was your week?" she'd ask, actually interested in the answer. We'd play chess. She was getting good, almost beat me last month. One Sunday in April, Emma seemed troubled. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" "Grandpa, why does Dad keep asking me questions about you?" My attention sharpened. What kind of questions? Like, do you seem confused when I visit? Do you forget things we've talked about? Have I noticed you acting strange? She frowned. It feels weird, like he's trying to get me to say something's wrong with you. Brandon was building his case. Wanted Emma's testimony about my decline. What do you tell him? The truth, that you're fine, that you beat me at chess and remember everything. She looked at me carefully. You are fine, right, Grandpa? I smiled. I'm perfectly fine. Your father is worried about me getting older. It's natural. It doesn't feel natural. It feels like he wants something to be wrong. Smart girl. Saw right through it. I made a decision that night. Whatever happened with Brandon, Emma would be protected. Walter, I want to set up an irrevocable trust, Emma as the sole beneficiary. Cutting Brandon out? If he tries to take what isn't his, he gets nothing. Emma gets everything. The house, the investments, all of it. That's a strong move. He's forcing my hand. The trust was established within a week, $3.5 million. Untouchable by anyone except Emma when she turned 25. If Brandon succeeded in getting conservatorship, he'd find out he was fighting for control of assets that no longer existed in my name. The irony would be delicious. Dr. Kenneth Marsh's office was exactly what I expected. Small clinic, generic medical posters, furniture from the 1990s. The evaluation was a joke. Mr. Harrison, what year is it? I pretended to think hard. 2000. 14? It's 2024, Mr. Harrison. I let my face show confusion. Oh, I thought, yes, 2024. He asked me to count backward from 100 by sevens. I deliberately made mistakes. Drew a clock face with the numbers slightly wrong. Couldn't remember 3 words he'd asked me to recall. The entire evaluation lasted 20 minutes. A real competency exam takes hours. Dr. Marsh seemed satisfied. Mr. Harrison, I'm going to recommend you have some assistance managing your daily affairs. Is something wrong with me? Just normal aging, but you'd benefit from some support. 2 days later, Brandon received the written evaluation. I know because Frank intercepted a copy. The report concluded I had moderate cognitive decline consistent with early dementia. Recommended immediate oversight of financial and medical decisions. Pure fiction, but on official letterhead, signed by a licensed physician. Exactly what Brandon needed. Meanwhile, I'd scheduled my own evaluation with Dr. Sarah Chen, one of the top geriatric psychiatrists in the state. I took 6 hours of comprehensive testing, memory assessments, problem-solving exercises, financial competency evaluations. Dr. Chen's conclusion. Mr. Harrison, your cognitive function is exceptional. You score in the 97th percentile for your age group. There's absolutely no indication of any decline. I need that in writing, and I need you to keep it confidential. May I ask why? Someone is trying to declare me incompetent. I'm going to prove them wrong at exactly the right moment. She understood, prepared a detailed report, sealed it until I was ready to use it. All the pieces were falling into place. Frank discovered the property transfer documents in early May. Brandon had filed preliminary paperwork with the county recorder's office, trying to add his name to my house deed. Claimed I'd gifted him half ownership, used the forged signature. The process was pending, waiting for final approval and recording. Once conservatorship was granted, Brandon could push it through. Claim I'd intended the gift but needed his oversight to complete it. Then he'd force the sale. Keep the money. The house Helen and I had bought in 1985, where we'd raised Brandon, where every room held memories of 40 years together. He was going to sell it without a second thought. Walter filed a quiet objection to the transfer. Not in my name, but through a legal technicality that blocked the recording. Brandon never knew. The paperwork just sat there, stuck in bureaucratic limbo. We also discovered something else. Credit cards. 3 of them in my name that I'd never opened. Total balance, $23,000. Charges for furniture, a vacation to Hawaii, Nicole's shopping sprees at designer stores. Brandon had stolen my identity, opened credit in my name, spent thousands. Classic elder financial abuse. We have him on multiple felonies, Walter said. Identity theft, forgery, fraud. Plus, the conservatorship petition is going to include perjury. How long until the hearing? 30 days. Perfect. Let him commit every crime he's planning. Then we show the judge everything at once. If someone ever tried to steal from you while pretending to help you, comment with your angry emoji. The official petition arrived by certified mail. Brandon Harrison, petitioner, seeking full conservatorship over Robert Mitchell Harrison, respondent. The legal language was cold, clinical. Respondent cannot manage financial affairs, cannot live independently, poses danger to self through neglect and confusion. Dr. Marsh's fraudulent evaluation was attached. Also attached, a statement from Brandon claiming I'd given money to scam callers and made irrational financial decisions. Never happened. Complete fabrication. The hearing date was set, June 15th, 4 weeks away. Brandon visited me the evening I received the petition. Dad, I need to talk to you about something important. I let him in, offered coffee, played the confused old man. There's going to be a court hearing, just a formality, to make sure you're okay. A court? Why? Because I want to help you, Dad. Make sure your bills get paid, that you're taken care of. You're getting older. It's harder to manage everything. Are you saying I can't take care of myself? Brandon's face showed fake concern. I'm saying you need help, and there's no shame in that. Will I have to leave my house? He hesitated. The lie formed behind his eyes. We'll figure that out. But Dad, the important thing is you'll be safe. I'll make sure of it. After he left, I sat in Helen's favorite chair and talked to her picture on the mantel. Our son is trying to rob me, sweetheart. I don't know where we went wrong, but I'm going to make this right, I promise. The next 4 weeks, I prepared, reviewed all the evidence with Walter, made sure every document was perfect, every recording clear. Walter brought in Dr. Chen's evaluation. Frank compiled all the surveillance footage. We built a prosecution-quality case. The day before the hearing, Walter asked one more time, "Are you sure you want to do this? We could settle quietly, make this go away." No. Brandon needs to face what he's done, in public, in court, under oath. He's going to perjure himself. I know. I'm counting on it. June 15th. Family Court. Judge Patricia Morrison presiding. I arrived early, dressed in my oldest clothes, cardigan with a small stain, pants slightly too big, scuffed shoes. Looked exactly like a struggling old man who couldn't care for himself. Brandon arrived in that expensive suit, Nicole beside him in designer clothes. Both of them confident. They thought they'd already won. Emma was in school. I'd made sure of that. Didn't want her to see what was about to happen. Judge Morrison called the court to order. We're here for petition for conservatorship. Brandon Harrison, petitioner, seeking conservatorship over Robert Harrison, respondent. Brandon's attorney, a slick-looking man named Dennis Porter, presented the petition. Your Honor, this is a sad but necessary case. Mr. Robert Harrison is a 78-year-old widower. I'm 68, I said quietly. Porter didn't even acknowledge the correction. The judge noticed. He presented Dr. Marsh's evaluation, painted a picture of a confused, declining old man who needed protection. Judge Morrison looked at me. Mr. Harrison, do you understand why you're here today? I let my voice shake. My son, he says I need help, but I don't understand why we're in court. Sympathy crossed her face. Another elder who didn't comprehend his own decline. Mr. Harrison, this hearing is to determine if you need assistance managing your affairs. Do you have an attorney? That's when Walter stood. Yes, Your Honor. Walter Cohen, representing Mr. Harrison. And yes, my client fully understands these proceedings. Brandon's head snapped around. He stared at Walter like he'd seen a ghost. Porter recovered quickly. Your Honor, I'd like to call Brandon Harrison to testify. Brandon took the stand, was sworn in, and began lying under oath. Please state your relationship to the respondent. I'm his son, his only child. Can you describe your father's recent behavior? Brandon settled into the performance. Your Honor, it breaks my heart, but my father has been deteriorating for months. Lie. He can't remember what day it is. I'll visit and he'll ask me the same question 5 times in 10 minutes. Never happened. Last month, I found him confused in his own neighborhood. He'd gone for a walk and couldn't remember how to get home. Complete fabrication. The house is in terrible condition, unpaid bills everywhere, food rotting in the refrigerator. He left the stove on overnight last week. I'd never left the stove on in my life. Mr. Harrison, does your father have adequate financial resources? No. He's living on a small pension, maybe $1,500 a month. The house needs repairs he can't afford. I've had to help him financially several times. My pension was actually $2,200 plus $4.7 million in assets, and Brandon had never helped me financially. He'd only stolen from me. Have you noticed other concerning behavior? He gave $5,000 to a phone scammer last month, thought he was paying taxes to the IRS. I had to explain it was a scam. Never happened. But Brandon delivered it perfectly. The concerned son, heartbroken over his father's decline. Porter introduced photographs. These show the condition of Mr. Harrison's home. I recognized my living room, but messier than I ever kept it. Staged. Brandon had clearly scattered papers and left dishes around before taking pictures. Mr. Harrison, what are you asking this court to do? I'm asking for conservatorship so I can protect my father, make sure his bills get paid, that he has proper care. I love him. I just want what's best for him. The performance deserved an Oscar. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed him myself. Nicole was called to testify next. She described her concerns about me, claimed she'd witnessed my confusion multiple times, said I'd told her the same story about my college days on 3 separate occasions, forgetting I'd already told her. Another lie. Then Dr. Marsh took the stand, presented his evaluation like it was legitimate medical science. Mr. E. Harrison shows clear signs of cognitive decline, memory impairment, difficulty with executive function. He scored poorly on standard competency assessments. Doctor, in your professional opinion, can Mr. Harrison manage his own affairs? No. He requires immediate oversight for his own safety. Dr. Marsh never mentioned he was Nicole's brother. Neither did Porter. The judge reviewed the evaluation carefully. This seems quite conclusive. Porter rested his case. Your Honor, the evidence is clear. Mr. Harrison needs protection. His son is willing to take on that responsibility. Judge Morrison looked at me. Mr. Harrison, do you understand what's happening? I started to respond in my confused voice, but Walter stood. Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to call Mr. Harrison to testify on his own behalf. Mr. Cohen, your client seems unable to effectively represent himself. With respect, Your Honor, my client is far more capable than anyone in this room realizes. I stood, walked to the witness stand. The transformation was immediate. Posture straightened, eyes sharp, voice clear and strong. Brandon went pale. I was sworn in. Walter approached. Mr. Harrison, please state your full name, date of birth, and current address. Robert Mitchell Harrison, born March 14, 1956. I live at 847 Maple Street, where I've resided for 39 years. Perfect recall. No hesitation. Are you confused about today's proceedings? Not at all. I'm here because my son attempted to steal my independence and my assets through legal manipulation and fraud. Objection. Porter jumped up. Overruled, Judge Morrison said, leaning forward with interest. Continue, Mr. E. Cohen. Walter smiled. Let's start with the medical evaluation, shall we? Walter handed me a document. Mr. Harrison, what is this? An independent competency evaluation performed by Dr. Sarah Chen, one of the leading geriatric psychiatrists in the state. What were the results? Dr. Chen concluded I have exceptional cognitive function. I scored in the 97th percentile for my age group. There is no evidence of any decline whatsoever. Judge Morrison took the report, read it carefully. Her expression shifted. Your Honor, Walter said, we discovered that Dr. Kenneth Marsh, who performed the petitioner's evaluation, is the brother of Mrs. Nicole Harrison, Brandon Harrison's wife. Nicole's face went red. Dr. Marsh looked like he wanted to disappear. This evaluation was fraudulent, performed by a family member with clear conflict of interest, designed specifically to support this conservatorship petition. Is this true? Judge Morrison asked Dr. Marsh directly. He stammered. Nicole is my sister, but that doesn't mean. It means your evaluation is worthless and potentially criminal, the judge snapped. Walter pulled out a tablet. Your Honor, I'd like to play some audio recordings. Mr. Harrison has been documenting conversations for the past 6 months. He pressed play. Brandon's voice filled the courtroom. Your dad's sitting on this house, free and clear. If we get conservatorship, we control everything. Nicole's response. He's old. Who's going to believe he's competent? The courtroom was silent except for the recording. Brandon and Nicole plotting, discussing selling my house, moving me to a cheap facility, spending my money. Nicole's voice. The old fool doesn't suspect a thing. Judge Morrison's expression turned to stone. Walter played more. Brandon coaching Nicole on what to say to doctors, planning how to forge documents, laughing about how easy I was to manipulate. Then came the surveillance footage, projected on a screen. Brandon entering my house without permission, going through my papers, taking the antique clock, the forged property transfer documents, caught on camera. Brandon's face in the footage, clearly visible, signing my name to legal papers. Your Honor, Walter said, Mr. Harrison has also discovered identity theft. Credit cards opened in his name without his knowledge or permission. He submitted the evidence, $23,000 in fraudulent charges. All of this was perpetrated by the petitioner. Brandon Harrison has been systematically stealing from his father while claiming to protect him. Porter tried to object. Your Honor, these recordings may have been obtained illegally. They were recorded in my own home, I said clearly. Perfectly legal under state law. Walter presented the final piece. Your Honor, Mr. Harrison is not, as claimed, a struggling pensioner barely surviving. He's a successful businessman who sold his company 5 years ago. His net worth is approximately $4.7 million. Brandon's jaw dropped. He lives modestly by choice. He wanted to see who cared about him versus who cared about his money. Unfortunately, his own son failed that test spectacularly. If you've ever outsmarted someone who underestimated you, comment with your genius emoji. The judge looked at Brandon with disgust. Mr. Harrison, do you have anything you'd like to say? Your Honor, I didn't know. You didn't know your father had money, so you decided to steal what little you thought he had. That's your defense? Brandon had no response. Judge Morrison didn't deliberate long. Conservatorship petition denied, immediately and permanently. She turned to Brandon. Mr. Harrison, you committed perjury in my courtroom. You presented fraudulent evidence. You lied under oath about your father's condition, his finances, and your motivations. Your Honor, please. You will pay your father's legal fees. All of them. She nodded to the bailiff, who approached Brandon with papers. You're being served with a criminal complaint. Your father is pressing charges for elder abuse, fraud, identity theft, and forgery. Nicole tried to leave. A court officer stopped her. Mrs. Harrison, you're named as a co-conspirator. Don't leave the jurisdiction. Dr. Marsh was already on his phone, probably calling his own attorney. Dr. Marsh, the medical board will be receiving a full report of this proceeding. I suspect your license will be under review. The courtroom cleared slowly. Brandon and Nicole were escorted out by police to be processed. I saw Emma in the hallway. I'd asked her to come after school, but arrive after the hearing started. She'd heard enough, tears streaming down her face. Grandpa, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what they were doing. I know, sweetheart. I hugged her tight. That's why I protected you. Protected me? I set up a trust. Your college, your future, everything. It's all taken care of. Whatever happens with your parents, you'll be okay. She cried harder. I'm so sorry. You have nothing to be sorry for. You're exactly who you should be. Kind, honest, loving, never change that. 3 months later, Brandon pleaded guilty to reduced charges. Avoided prison but got 3 years probation, 200 hours of community service, mandatory restitution of $47,000, the stolen credit card charges plus my legal fees. He lost his management job when the conviction hit his record. Nicole divorced him within 6 months, took their house in the settlement. Brandon moved into a small apartment. Dr. Marsh lost his medical license, never practiced again. Emma moved in with me to finish high school, thrived, applied to colleges, got into her first choice with academic scholarships. The trust I'd set up would cover the rest. She'd graduate debt-free. Brandon sent letters from court-mandated therapy. The first few were excuses and justifications. Then, finally, a real apology. Dad, I was desperate and greedy. I convinced myself you owed me something, that I deserved your money because I was your son. I have no excuse. What I did was unforgivable. I'm sorry. I responded after thinking for a long time. You're my son. I love you, but love without respect is meaningless. You'll have to earn back trust. That takes time, maybe years. But I'll be here if you do the work. I meant it. Part of me still hoped Brandon would find his way back to being the man I'd raised him to be. But I also knew some people have to lose everything before they find themselves. A year later, Brandon was working construction. Honest work. Going to therapy twice a week, paying restitution in monthly installments. We had coffee once a month, awkward conversations, rebuilding slowly. Emma graduated as valedictorian, full scholarship to Stanford, plus her trust fund. I attended her graduation, proud beyond words. That evening, sitting on my porch in the house Brandon had tried to steal, I thought about everything that had happened. People think getting older means getting weaker. They're wrong. Age brings wisdom, experience, patience, the ability to see 10 moves ahead. Brandon played checkers. I played chess. He saw an old man. I saw everything. The best revenge isn't anger. It's letting someone's own actions destroy them while you watch from a position of strength. I didn't defeat my son. He defeated himself. I just made sure the truth had a spotlight when he did. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never mistake age for incompetence. And never, ever underestimate the person who raised you. They've forgotten more about strategy than you'll ever learn. Thank you for watching this story on Elder Justice Revenge Stories. If this inspired you, please subscribe and click that notification bell. Share this with anyone who's ever been underestimated or had to outsmart someone who thought they were smarter. Where are you watching from? Comment below. And remember, wisdom always beats cunning. Age brings experience that youth can't match. And the person you're trying to fool might be 10 steps ahead of you, just waiting for you to expose yourself. Respect your elders, because they've survived everything you're just beginning to face.